Hi, good morning. Fixed my hair today, ready for today's show. We were going to move studios, but we didn't move studios. Maybe next Monday we'll be moving to Studio B, so tune in on Monday for what we're going to cook. Chris Allen, executive chef, Papakona restaurant here, with our morning live segment here on Facebook. Today we're going to be doing chicken marsala, one of the classic Italian dishes, leaning a little bit more towards the Sicilian side of things. So I'm going to jump right into this dish. It's a mushroom and chicken dish. This dish is truly indicative of how Italian food works. Very simple ingredients, very simple preparation, and big, bold flavors. So the first thing we're going to do, you've all learned the phrase, what is it? Mise en place, which means everything in its place. So I've already got some mushrooms already ready to go, clean. But what I'm going to show you is there's always a lot of questions on how to clean a mushroom. If they're dirty, what you want to do is either take a wet rag and just wipe it clean. Get any dirt off that you see. Make sure it gets clean. Now, there's several schools of thought. Some chefs will tell you you don't wash mushrooms because they absorb too much moisture. That's not necessarily true. You can wash mushrooms. They're not going to absorb that much moisture that it's going to impact the dish. So I do want to take off the bottom end of each of these mushrooms. And then what I'm going to do is I'm merely just going to slice right down the line. Very easily. Now I'm slicing my mushrooms first because I've got two cuts to make. The first one was a vegetable. The second one now is going to be my chicken. So here I have a nice chicken breast. Now a couple of things that you'll notice. When you buy the breast from the store, you'll see some residual fat and or skin. That's no problem. What you're going to do is you're just going to remove that, like real easy. Bring your chicken and cut off those little bits of fat that you don't want on your chicken. Now, what you're going to do, there's lots of schools of thought for making marsala. Some people will cut this in half and then pound the chicken out. I like to do a little bit more speedy and efficient way of doing it. So what I do is I take my knife and I run it parallel to my cutting board and I very easily trim off one piece. Okay? Second piece, and it already gets me to that nice thin chicken that I'm looking for this dish. Again, my blade is angled. Now, I've got three nice little pieces of cutlet there, or scallopini if you will. This one here, since it's a little bit thicker, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called the butterfly. I'm going to slice it open and just fold this flat down. Very good, that's all done. I'll get rid of my knife, I don't need it anymore. Now, if you like, you can pound it. You can get out a hammer and pound it. Sometimes I like to just get out my anger and pound it with my fist. Just like this. Okay? This does a little bit of tenderizing, but since it's a chicken breast, it's already pretty tender. So now, in this I have some flour, salt, and pepper. This is basically going to be our dredge. I'm going to show you two different ways that you can do it. One way, you can make a plate of flour, like so. Take your chicken and just dredge it right in the flour. We're not looking for a super thick coating on this. We're just looking to get it coated lightly. Okay, see that? It's a light coating. There's nothing to it that is going to be a full breaded chicken, like a breaded chicken breast. This is just a simple coating. This is actually going to give the sauce a little bit of thickening potential because it is a flour. So dredge these two over here. That's great. Now the other way you can do it is this is a very, very old school method. Plastic bag. Zip your baggie. There was a company a long time ago by the name of Shake and Bake that absolutely made a fortune with their little shake and bake concept with a bag and flour dredge. So that's done. So my mise en place is almost all done. So I had touched chicken with my gloves so I don't cross-contaminate. I'm going to remove my gloves. Now, when you're removing your gloves, especially in these times, it's a little tip. You don't slide it off so it's straight. You want to pull it off so your fingers come to the inside and everything that was on the outside is now on the inside. Okay? That's the proper way to remove your gloves. Once more, remove my gloves. That's great. I'm going to let my hands dry out just a little bit. It happens to be another 82-degree day here in Kona. Again on the lanai here at Papakona Restaurant. This recipe that we're trying out is we're actually hoping to add it to our menu as well when we do reopen. We're hoping for that very, very soon. Okay, put my gloves on. Pretty good. So over here on my right, you'll notice I've got a pan ready to go. I'll put my chicken right there. I'm going to get my cutting board out of the way right now. That's going to be the next step. But first, I'm going to deal with this nice little herb here. This is called thyme. So I'm going to add just a touch of thyme. I'm going to actually take, and this is how you deal with thyme. What you want to do is you just take your fingers, okay, and you just run it right down like that. You just peel off your little bits of thyme. Take another sprig. This one individual stalk like that would be considered a sprig. And I'm only adding a little bit of this. I'm not adding a whole heck of a lot. I'm just adding enough to give it a little bit of herbaceousness, if you will. One of my favorite culinary terms, herbaceousness. Okay, so that can go out of the way now. Very good. I've got that ready to go. I'm just gonna run it between my fingers a little bit and start releasing some of those essential oils. Okay, that's great. Cutting board can go bye-bye. Give a quick wipe down. We're gonna get stove number 2 ready to go because we're gonna start cooking this dish. Okay? Power on, flame on. Our pot's gonna go over here. Now, right over here you'll notice I've got a beautiful pot of boiling water. Okay? This is also gonna include how to cook pasta. So you always want to start when you're cooking pasta with a lot of water. Okay? A lot of water versus pasta. It will be very sticky if not, and gummy. It'll all come together. So a couple of things that I've seen, lots of young cooks or young chefs that come into the kitchen that make pasta, what you'll see them inevitably doing is adding oil to this water. No, you don't add oil to the water. There's no need, okay? That's an old wives' tale that came from a long time ago, about 100 years ago, when people didn't know how to cook pasta. So what they would do to help themselves so the pasta wouldn't stick, they think by adding a boatload of oil in the water would keep the pasta from sticking. That's not true. What it'll keep your noodle from catching the sauce if it's all oily and greasy, because when you pull it out of the water, it's going to get all that oil on the pasta, so it won't hold your sauce. So that is a wives' tale. If you've been adding oil to your water, stop. You don't need to do it anymore. What you need to make sure you have is a big volume of water. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically take a pound of pasta. I have here angel hair, which is one of my favorite pastas to work with. So I can normally grab a pound pretty easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put half of this in, like that, and the other half I like to break. I like to do a dual action angel hair. So that goes there. So once that water goes in the water, oh, I left out the most essential part. Salt goes in your water. Now, one of my very, very first chefs, when you ask him the question, how much salt do you add to your pasta water? Well, his rule of thumb was once it tastes like the ocean, add a little bit more salt. So I can taste that now, right? So once again, I'm not going to stick my finger in it. We've already gone over that in other classes. So I'm going to just taste it, right? Nice salty water. Perfect. There goes the spoon. I'm not going to reuse that spoon. Now, while that's going, this pan's been getting nice and hot. I'm going to let that pasta cook, and I'm going to start addressing our cutlets. Okay, we're going to start to build this sauce. The other thing here I have is the star of today's show. This is Marsala wine. This is a beautiful, beautiful Sicilian wine. Very, very sweet flavor, and just adds such a great richness to the dish. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a contrast to that sweetness is just another little bit of sweetness. I have about 2 tablespoons of cooking sherry there. So it's basically 2 sweet wines, so I'm trying to build the flavor there. Now, when cooking pasta, a couple of different things. How do you know when it's done? Well, I've seen lots of different schools of thought. This I can tell is not even close because I can't even pick it up, and it's not even folding around the spatula while I'm doing it. So I can already tell that I'm not even close to being done. But what I want to get now is this pan nice and hot. So I've got more pieces of chicken right there ready to go. So remember what we want to listen for?
Sizzle.
How to hear the sizzle? Sizzling a little bit. I'm just start to lay my breaded cutlets down. We're going to let that heat come up even more. Probably would like a little bit more sizzle to that. That's okay. When you're cooking in paradise, we don't stand on a whole heck of a lot of rules. I just want to make sure that it's nice and delicious. That's the key. So I've dredged these earlier. I'm just going to give them a little bit of a second dredging. Okay. Now, question out there will be, how long do I cook it for? When is it going to be done? Well, like I always will answer, it's going to be done when it's done. Well, what does that exactly mean? Well, that's going to mean a nice golden brown color on the bottom, right? Going to get a nice golden brown color. So we're going to let that go right now while our pasta, we'll go back and revisit that while that's cooking. So our pasta is coming along nicely. Now, see how it's hanging over? So lots of different schools of thought. What's the old, another wives' tale, throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. Oh, I don't have a wall behind me. It didn't stick anyway. That's not a way to learn to tell if your pasta will be done. What do you think out there is the best way to tell if it's done? Right, if anybody said taste it, right, taste it. That's the only way to know. So, when I taste pasta, as I'm cooking it, when I bite down on it, I calculate in my head where the firmness is. I'll calculate that's got about 2 more minutes to go. I can just calculate it in my head based on how much chew there is to it. This is an angel hair pasta. It's going to cook really, really quickly. Normal rule of thumb for cooking angel hair, about 7 minutes is about a good time frame for you to get going. So I'm going to try and make sure I radiate this heat around here pretty well. I got some sizzle happening, which is good. I'm going to let that continue to go just a little bit more. I want to get to that golden brown. The trouble out here is I actually have a beautiful breeze coming, so it's kind of cooling down the pan and altering my heat just a little bit, but we'll work through it. So that's coming along nicely. I've got my mushrooms ready to go right there. So we'll just get this sizzling a little bit more. I'm going to keep rotating the pan because there's certain hot spots on the pan. I want to make sure that it continues to radiate a relatively even heat despite the breeze. I have my producer checking the flame, making sure my flame is on. Flame is still on. Good. I still see some sizzle happening, which is great. I see some of these pieces that got cheapened a little bit as it went in, so I'm going to just go ahead and cheat, add a little bit of flour to that, so it keeps that little bit of coating on it. Okay, that's along nice. Just to the side. Now, as this is going, I'm going to keep returning my attention back over here to my pasta, which should be done at this point. I'll give it one more test. Come on. Now, some of you at home may be saying, wow, he's grabbing stuff out of boiling hot water. Yeah, I don't suggest you do that. I would pull it out on a fork, hold it on a fork, and let it cool down a little bit. After 20 years of cooking, excuse me, I have no more sensation in my fingers. It's pretty well dead at this point. So that pasta is done, which is great. So I'm merely going to drain it over here. I have a colander and I've got a big bowl. Drain my pasta. Like so. Get all the water out. Okay. So now my pasta is ready to go. I'll return my attention to the chicken. I'm just going to pick up these pieces and toss them over now. I haven't got as golden brown as I'd like. I'd like to see it much darker in color, but for the sake of today's demo, we're just going to work on flavor and not so much color. Okay, those are looking great. I'm going to get those cooking just a little bit more. I'm going to get my plate ready. What I'm going to do, and hopefully you guys can see where this is all going, once I get this chicken done, it's going to go off the plate, off onto a plate. We're going to hold that on a plate while we build our mushroom marsala sauce. So once again, for the mushroom marsala sauce, what we're going to do is I've got my marsala wine. I'm going to add about a cup into this dish. That's to about 2 teaspoons of sherry vinegar. Just sherry wine. I've got some salt. I've got a salt and pepper combo right here. And I've got some more whole butter because I'm just going to add in some more butter. Once the mushrooms go into this, what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up sucking in a lot of this oil, okay? And they're going to take all those bits of flavor that are left from the chicken, and that's going to build the foundation of this sauce. Also, what's happening in this sauce is the chicken's releasing its juices, so it's actually giving it a little bit of chicken flavor within the sauce here. Now, what I can do, and for those of you that want to know how to check your doneness of meat, here's a great trick for you. This goes for fish, chicken, or beef, okay? And this is the doneness meter right here. I'll actually take off my glove for this one to show you. When you make a fist, okay, there's a bridge right in between your index and your thumb. There's a little pad right here. If you squeeze it really, really hard and touch it, that's well done, well done. Release it by half, medium, release it all the way, that's rare or raw. So you'll see chefs a lot of times just poking at their meats that they're cooking, okay? That's what they're checking for. They're checking to see the doneness. So this is all feeling like it's nice and done for me at this point, so I'm going to just take this right off. Set it onto the plate over here. And the temperature is going to come up. I got a little bit of golden brown here, a little bit. Would have definitely liked to see more, but since we're going live, anything can happen on live television, right? No big deal. We're going to work with it. Now, you get some nice little bits on the bottom of the pan. One of my other pet peeves in cooking shows is the use of terms wrong and terminology wrong. You'll see a lot of chefs that cook and they'll be making a pan gravy, basically, which is what I'm doing. And they'll talk about these little bits and pieces on the bottom of the pan and call it fond. It's not fond yet. Right now, as it sits, it's called sook. S-U-C, sook, okay? It doesn't become a fond until you deglaze the pan. Then you have a fond, okay? The bits and pieces on the bottom here, again, they're called sook. And then it becomes a fond, okay? So I want this nice and ripping hot, because again, I want my mushrooms to really get that sizzle going, so I'm gonna try and get the sizzle happening, okay? There's also that flour imparted from this chicken in there. So that's gonna be another thickening agent, right? So we can see this pan coming up to temperature, and then you can see the little bits and pieces on the bottom. That's the sook. Very good. So I'm gonna pull that back. I'm gonna go ahead and add in these mushrooms right now. Let's hope we hear that sizzle. Kinda. It's kind of a sizzle. That's okay. Not gonna worry. So what you're gonna see now is you saw how much butter was in that pan. And once these mushrooms begin to cook, you'll see how much of that they'll partake, and they'll suck it up into the mushroom, and that's going to impart that flavor into the mushroom. So I'm just going to stir those around like so. I'm going to get these sauteing down a little bit, and then we're going to start to get the meat of the bone here. We're going to get to the adding of the Marsala sauce, and then we're going to get to tasting it. Now, you just saw how much oil was in the pan. Take a look now. So there is no oil left. Very, very little oil left. Okay, you see how that is? Great. Okay, give that a quick little stir. While I'm doing that, I'm going to get another little bit of garnish going. Get another glove on. I probably should have done this in the beginning. It's a finished garnish and it's some parsley. I'm just going to actually tear it up real quick and just get it set to the side. So I don't want to reuse that cutting board that has all the chicken juice on it. So that's actually, I'm going to go ahead and add in my thyme right now, and I'll just get this ready on the side. A lot of times when you're cooking, guys, don't panic. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Like I've said countless times, there are rules in cooking, but those rules are made to be broken, okay? And when you break a rule, how do you know if it's right or wrong? Taste it, taste it. Now, what I'm gonna do at this point is I've got a little bit of combo salt and pepper. I'm gonna give it a nice little dusting of salt and pepper. And what that's gonna do right now is that salt is going to help release the mushroom juices into this dish, and that's what I want to have happen. I want it to re-release that juice, the oil that it brought into it. Now it's going to release it back out into the dish. Just that little addition of salt will help that happen. Okay? Very good. Coming along nicely. I'm getting those mushrooms just a little bit softened now. Where I want them to be, I want to take a little bit of the rawness out. Just fine. Get my dish prepared for presentation. This can go bye-bye. Okay. So our mushrooms coming along nicely. They've released a little bit more juice out, right? Okay, I've seasoned them. I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of this Marsala wine sauce. Say when. I'm going to add in about a cup. Okay? There's a cup. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with about 2 tablespoons of the sherry to round it out, round out the flavor. And I'm just going to give that a nice toss. Looking good. Now, one of the things that I like to do to my Marsala sauces, I like to take a last little bit of butter. Okay, this is a classic cheat, if you will, that the French have been doing for years, hundreds of years. The French have been cheating this one. This is called mounting with butter, a mount au beurre. Okay, so I'm basically going to mount this with butter. Everything tastes good with butter, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very, very gently work that through the sauce. Okay, it adds a nice little creaminess. That butter also adds a beautiful mouthfeel to it. It feels really great. So what's going to happen now is when I add in my chicken pieces to this, They're going to continue to cook and absorb some of that flavor, okay? Any residual juices that came out of your chicken, go ahead and just add it right into the sauce, right? No use getting rid of that flavor. Add it back in. Okay? We're getting there. Getting to the end of the dish. So, what haven't I done? What have you seen me not do yet? I haven't tasted it, right? Critical time. I need to taste it right now. I want it to cook out a little bit more. The Marsala wine is coming through really, really strong. I want it to lessen just a little bit. It's a little bit acidic right now. So I'm going to counter that with a little bit of more salt. Okay, a little bit more salt. So I'm getting all those chicken pieces nice and coated in this beautiful sauce. Okay. Very good. I'll hit it with my parsley now. We'll suspend disbelief and we'll say that this is nice and finely chopped, okay? We'll just share between friends. Okay, that just adds a nice little bit of green color to this dish so it's not so one-dimensional brown. It gives a nice little vibrance to it. So I can see that the flour from my chicken is starting to thicken up this sauce real nicely. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a nice handful of this pasta that we cooked off earlier. So we'll do one plate right now, and then everyone else is going to get to enjoy this in a little bit. So I'm going to just stir my pasta around in this liquid real quick, get it all nice and coated in sauce. Very simple. Get some of those mushrooms thrown in there. Easy peasy. Okay, take my dish, take my pasta, and again, we're really hoping that this can be an addition to our menu here at Papakona. So I'm going to plate that on the dish, get a little bit of height to it. Okay, these stragglers off the side. Don't want to have anything on our rim of our plate. Okay, that's great. A nice portion of pasta there. So now I'm going to take some of this beautiful chicken, turn off the heat. I'll do 3 pieces. It's always great when things come in 3. Take some of this that has the 3 green mushrooms on top. Pick out some beautiful ones. Oh yeah. Some beautiful green there. I believe we have posted this recipe online for you to see. Okay, there it is. It's a beautiful chicken marsala. Looks great. So once again, this is Chris Allen, the executive chef here at Papakona Restaurant. Please check us out online at papakona.com. Also check out more of our live video Facebook streams. We're now doing Wednesday night specials of LT Smooth, this Facebooking live concerts for you to see while you're at home. We're trying to give you some content to watch other than Netflix and Hulu all day long. So make sure you tune in with us right here for Chef Chris's cooking class every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. And also our bartender is doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tommy, our bar manager, he's going to be doing some gourmet cocktails on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. So click in on Facebook Live and see all of our live streaming. And be sure to share these with all your friends and family, okay? We'll see you next Monday for another cooking class with Chef Chris. Aloha.